higher than in much of Europe, and it was cut in Scotland 3 years ago. Speaking to LBC, Nick Freeman, a lawyer specialising in driving offences, said it's high time for a change.
There has to be mass support for it. If you've got members of the public or drivers who are saying now we need to reduce it for road safety, how can the government object? It's a farcical situation, and I'm confident that it will come down, I would estimate, within the next 2 or 3 years.
Princes William and Harry, along with Kate, are investing £2 million from their charitable trust in a new mental health start-up. It'll help set up a digital innovation unit so people can find help. Chris Martin is CEO of charity partner The Mix, the largest support service for people under 25.
It's one of the big issues of this generation, and for them I think seeing people like the Young Royals, people like Lady Gaga all talking about mental health has given them the great sense that they're being listened to, what they're struggling with is being listened to, and also a technique for how they can get engaged with getting to grips with their own mental health and what they can do about it.
LBC weather largely dry with sunny spells for many and light winds, but showers for northern and western parts, highs of 17 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Andy Ivy.
Modern life is hectic. Queuing for the bathroom, packing the kids' lunchboxes, doing the school run, walking the dog, sprinting after the bus, making that deadline, cheeky catch up with the girlies, then racing to pick up the kids so we're home for tea time. Oh, nothing in the fridge.
Don't come home to an empty fridge. New Tesco same-day delivery. Order by 1 for delivery after 7. Tesco. Every little helps. Subject to availability. Excludes Sunday delivery charges apply.
LBC Travel, the Royal Parks Half Marathon is on this morning, so there are lots of road closures in central London, including Hyde Park Corner, the Mall, Whitehall and the Strand. The Shoreditch 10K is also underway, so closures include Southgate Road and Hoxton Street. In Knightsbridge, Kensington Road eastbound has a lane closed for emergency repairs between Alexandra Gate and the A4 Brompton Road. In Ladbroke Grove, St Mark's Road is closed both ways because of a building fire between St Quintin Avenue and Barbary Road. And on the Tube, engineering works means there's no district line west of South Kensington, so that affects the Wimbledon, Ealing, Richmond, Olympia and Edgware Road branches. LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show.
Good morning, everybody. Well, it was a pretty calamitous week for the Prime Minister, wasn't it? That was a fiasco in Manchester. And by the way, I'm not talking about the fact she had a bad cough. I've stood up and given conference speeches when I felt pretty under the weather too. No, it was the fact that the signage fell off the ceiling, that the security was so bad that a comedian got right up next to the Prime Minister and then seemed to be locked in endless conversation with the Foreign Secretary, Boris Johnson. And the messaging. You know, true Conservatives who'd been told this was going to be the conference at which they'd hear the free market message, and all they got was, well, caps on energy prices, the fact that the state, once you're dead, will own your organs and can use them for transplants without first seeking your permission. It was actually a big state speech. It didn't work at any level. And this morning, we've got people like Nicola Sturgeon appearing in interviews saying how sorry they feel for the Prime Minister. Not good when a leader is evoking sympathy. A leader needs to be respected. A leader doesn't need to be liked, but sympathy isn't good at all. But something interesting amidst all the speculation, and yeah, the newspapers are full of it. Is Boris going to be sacked? How many plotters does Grant Shapps have? But amidst it all, something slightly interesting that maybe moves this on. The Sunday Telegraph says May plans for no EU deal. And really interesting that Ruth Davidson, who, you know, the Scottish leader of the Tories and really rather popular at the moment, one of the more pro-EU figures in the Conservative Party, and she this morning has said that she's quite prepared to countenance no deal. So I'm just beginning to wonder, you know, as Mrs May gets herself ready for the next crucial Leaders' Summit, which takes place on the 19th of October in Brussels, where she goes and meets the other 27 heads of state and, of course, Juncker, Barnier and Verhofstadt too. Is Mrs May the right leader to go to Brussels to negotiate Brexit? So please let me know what you think. Perhaps you think, absolutely, she's a wonderful leader. She'll knock 'em dead when she goes out there in a couple of weeks' time. Call me on 0345 6060 973. Or maybe you think, actually, she's hopeless. And the fact that an opinion poll says that 42% still think she's right to lead the negotiations doesn't really work for you. Text me on 84850. Or perhaps you think someone better could do the negotiations, in which case, on Twitter, go to @LBC using the hashtag Farage and LBC and watch me live on Facebook. So we're going to talk about that. Is this the right leader to go to Brussels and negotiate Brexit? And later on in the show, we will talk, of course, about Catalonia, where perhaps they're going to declare independence on Tuesday. Is that going to lead not just to police but to military action? And also this morning, I'll tell you why Hillary Clinton hates me, because it's there in the Sunday Times magazine this morning. And I always think it's a good thing in life to be judged by your enemies. And if she hates me, I'm not that unhappy. Now, Mrs. May, we are now going to go to an independently minded backbencher. He's the Conservative MP for Wellingborough and Rushden. He was a co-founder of the Grassroots Out campaign, which I was a part of. He's a Eurosceptic, not one to mince his words. Good morning, Peter Bone.
Good morning, Nigel.
So, I mean, Peter, were you there in the hall in Manchester?
Not for the leader's speech. I went for David Davis, Liam Fox and Boris's speech, but the leader's speech is best listened to on the radio under normal circumstances. But it wasn't normal last time.
I mean, it was a complete humiliating car crash for her, wasn't it?
No, I'm not buying that. First of all, she has a cold. Well, we all get colds.
Sure.
The breach in security was amazing. Why that guy wasn't trampled on by three heavy blokes immediately moved towards the Prime Minister is beyond my... I just don't understand that.
Agreed.
And they ought to find out who fixed the stage prop. I mean, the fact there was nothing... The speech itself was fine, but nobody's talking.
Was it? So you're happy, Peter, are you? You're happy that price caps are going to be introduced, state intervention... I mean, good socialism, Peter. You're really happy with that, are you?
Yeah, no, sorry. There were one or two things that I wasn't happy with.
I'm sure.
You just nailed them. But, I mean, if she's going to go to Brussels on the 19th of October, and that happens to be my birthday, and if she was to say, we've had enough of you lot, this negotiation is going nowhere, we're pulling out tomorrow, bye-bye, that'd be a very nice birthday present for me. And she's a sort of, as someone said, a bloody-minded woman who might just do that. Who knows?
Does she command the support of the party? I mean, and I ask you that, Peter, because I was in Manchester last week, and what I found really interesting was I was meeting, talking, interviewing people like you who were all saying, no, we must be loyal to the leader. And then, once the microphone was switched off, they were all saying, gosh, she's hopeless, isn't she? I mean, where do you stand on this? Is she really right to be your leader now?
By the way, what you just said, I didn't find. I didn't find any support for sort of the Europhile plot that was mounted to three MPs. I didn't find any support for that. And I've been talking to my association and the people in my constituency, and they're all saying, look, we're a day nearer coming out of the European Union. She's doing what she said she was doing. She's going to get us out. Why on earth would you idiots want to change the leader? Because goodness knows what we might...
Well, because she's no good. She doesn't deliver very good messages. She blew the election. I mean, there's quite a lot of reasons, really, aren't there?
Well, the thing that probably matters to me most, and absolutely I'm sure matters to you most, is whether we deliver Brexit.
Uh-huh.
And at the moment, and I said to you, if she delivers a clean Brexit, she'll be a national hero. I now think what is going to happen, I think you'd be difficult to argue about this, and Europeans are not going to agree to a deal with us. Therefore, we need to come out and trade, if you like, WTO rules.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I want the Prime Minister to do, and obviously it'll be after the European Council when she doesn't make any more progress, he says, look, this is what it's going to look like if we don't get a deal. Because I was with a leading employer in this country, 300,000 people they employ in this country, and what they said, they don't care whether we do a deal or come out on WTO rules. They just want to know what it will look like. So what the Prime Minister's got to show after the European Council is what it will look like when we don't get a deal. And then that, of course, the Europeans will realise we're serious about this. I just don't think there's any chance of a deal. I don't think it's the European Union want to do a deal because they are so in love with this European superstate. So I think the best chance for getting what I want and you want is for Theresa May to go and be as awkward as she wants to be.
Which would represent a big turnaround from Florence the other week when she said the EU's absolutely wonderful and we're going to stay part of all of it, just under a different rebadged name. Pretty much what she said. Peter,
did I like the Florence speech? No, I didn't. But
no.
She certainly didn't quite say that.
Well, I think...
shouldn't be giving him any money.
Quintin Letts in the Daily Mail said the only thing she stopped short of was offering Juncker a peerage, which I thought was about right. Peter...
Well, if she was going to offer anyone a peerage, it should be you.
No, well, not much. It was very sweet of you on a Sunday morning, but there's not much chance of it. Peter, I think, my view strongly, is that she perhaps has one last chance. Maybe one last chance to save her premiership, to perhaps unite the party, and to show Brussels that she means business. Because at the minute, they are laughing about her behind the back of their hand. They really are, I know, because I have to have the misfortune to work with these people. If she goes on the 19th, your birthday, to Brussels and says, right, we're not mucking about anymore. We want a grown-up trade deal with you. Here's the deadline. If you don't want to meet it, we will then simply leave. If she did that, would she unite the party behind her?
Absolutely. I mean, that would be the best thing that she could possibly say.
Okay.
Question for you. If it wasn't Mrs. May, who would you have to lead us to come out of the EU?
Oh, well, I would be looking, Peter, I'd be looking for an independently minded backbencher of some kind, somebody who was unafraid to speak their minds, perhaps even an MP that sort of was somewhere in the middle of the country, I don't know, the sort of county that you're in at the moment. Peter, I don't really care. I think she's badly damaged goods, but there's always a chance in life for people to redeem themselves, however bad it looks. And I have to say, I agree with you. If she does a complete volte-face from Florence, comes out kicking, comes out fighting, there may be a chance. Peter Bone, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Well, Peter Bone there, who was fairly honest that he didn't like the Florence speech, he didn't like much of what she said in Manchester, but he thinks if she gets tough, she can regain credibility and her standing in the party. I would say this is last chance saloon. That's my view. I'm perhaps being kind this morning. I wonder what Keith in Stoke Newington thinks. Keith, good morning.
Good morning, Nigel. Yes, I think it's the wrong time to change, have a leadership challenge at the moment. And I also think it's totally wrong to get rid of Boris Johnson. And because I think he realises Theresa May is being somewhat weak and her decision-making capability is somewhat challenging, particularly after the evidence of the last general election, the way she did it, her decision's there. And Boris Johnson is giving her a kick up the backside and being very strong. This whole situation reminds me of Chamberlain and people took peace in our time when they got rid of Churchill because he was acting like Boris Johnson, being very strong, and they didn't like it. And in the end, Churchill had to go in and sort the thing out.
Well, the difference was, Keith, the difference was that Chamberlain was the Prime Minister and Churchill was a backbencher, which is why when someone like Peter Bone comes on the show, as backbenchers, they are much freer to speak. The real difference is that Boris Johnson is the Foreign Secretary, and you could say that both before Florence and indeed before her conference speech, that he effectively upstaged her.
Well, I agree. I think he needed to because he recognised she's being weak. And he needed to do something to reset the programme and give her a push. That's why he did it, I'm sure.
Okay, so you would like the team to stay together as they are. Do you think, Keith, and as I say, as someone that works in Brussels, I know her credibility is shot with them at the moment. They don't really think she's serious. If she goes on the 19th of October and starts to talk tough, do you think that could save her premiership?
I think he could. If she pulls the hat out of the bag, I think she could. She's learning her lessons of leadership, and it takes a bit of time to do that. But the other points I wanted to make, Nigel...
One more, and then we run out of time. One more point, Keith.
Well, ever since we've been trading, in the start of the East India Company, we beat the hell out of the rest of the traders through good international trading. And the Europeans are terrified of us because they're never going to beat us, so they're trying to control us and stop us, which is what they've done in history.
Yep. Well, all we need then is the courage to do something about it. Keith, I thank you. Right now you're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's 10:15.
After that speech...
And we... Shows what good the Chancellor's cough suite is.
Can the Prime Minister find her voice?
In the week she launches a major review of racial disparity in the UK. Join me, Ian Dale at Drive, as Theresa May takes your calls.
The Prime Minister, Theresa May, next week, exclusively on LBC.
Sometimes it can be hard to keep your show on the road, but new Car Genie from the AA makes things easier. Car Genie helps predict and prevent breakdowns. Just plug it into your car and it will warn you and us if there's a potential problem. That should keep you rolling. New Car Genie from the AA. Because anything can happen. Compatible vehicles only. Check the AA.com for details.
Your journey is always more pleasurable with Aeroflot Russian Airlines. Our young fleet flies to an enormous range of destinations. Come and experience true hospitality delivered by our expert cabin crew and pilots, made even better by the choice of exquisite cuisine served on board. Then just sit back, relax, and enjoy the comfort of our state-of-the-art aircraft. You'll find you've enjoyed yourself before you've even landed. Fly Aeroflot.
Hey, Sarah, did you see our street in the Admiral ad last night?
Yeah, we're the inspiration for multi-cover.
Guaranteed discounts on Admiral home and car insurance, don't you know?
Your home and car on one policy. But seriously, it's a lifesaver.
I know. I did my car, Rob's car and the house, and it was multi-cover discounts all round.
Ooh, that deserves a celebration.
Cup of tea, something stronger.
Multi-cover your home and cars at admiral.com.
So go ahead and tell us your name and what you do.
Fergus, I'm a hermit crab, so I walk around, pinch things and move house mainly.
And how often do you move?
I'd say about 15 times a month.
Wow.
Yeah, used to be a pain before I started using Zoopla to sort out the energy, broadband, removals and all that moving stuff. Now it's a lot easier. So this is going on the radio, yeah?
Yeah.
I just want to give a big shout out to all the boys in Rockpool. Go the Rocks!
Start your property move on Zoopla.
There's no need to scream and shout if your plumbing's gone right up the spout.
There's a local hero for that.
If your lights are leaving you in the dark, there's no need for a rude remark.
There's a local hero for that. Whether it's plumbing, heating, drains or electrics, we've got a local tradesman who can help. There's no call-out charge and all work comes with a 12-month British Gas guarantee. Book online now. There's a local hero for that. Localheroes.com.
Glad I brought a coat. Thinking ahead, Wilbur? Well, it's like getting home care from British Gas before winter catches you out. From only £12 a month, that's less than 40p a day. Your boiler's serviced every year. If it still breaks down, we'll fix it. And until 23rd of October, you get 1 month free on most home care products when you buy online. You brought the umbrella. Thinking ahead. Not bad for a penguin. Stay a step ahead of winter. Search British Gas Home Care. Conditions apply.
Is your business structured in the correct way to manage your exposure to income tax, capital gains tax and inheritance tax? Does your business structure assist you in achieving your goals? Or do you feel like you suffer a tax charge every time you want to do something new? Let Barnes Rofe look at your business structure and see if we can help you with these issues. Visit barnesrofe.com. Barnes Rofe, clever accountants for business.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC, The Nigel Farage Show.
The week's been a total shocker for the Prime Minister, and the newspapers are full of stories of campaigns against her within the party, the prospect of Boris being sacked, and she's in a very bad place. But the rebellion has not reached sufficient size to get rid of her. I think they'd be better with somebody else, but she's going to stay for a bit. And that's why I think going as our leader on the 19th of October to this summit, she's got a chance. If she completely turns around from Florence, she perhaps has one last chance to re-establish her credibility. If it doesn't happen then there'll be many others speaking out and saying it's time to go. Does she deserve that one last chance, or should she simply go now and be replaced by somebody else? I wonder what John in Formby makes of that proposition. Good morning.
I think she should go now. I think she's a busted flush, and I think all the parallels with Neville Chamberlain are true. It's rather like 1940 when people wanted a more vigorous prosecution of the war, and we're not getting it from her. She doesn't have the confidence of her party, despite what they say. The public, I think, have lost faith in her, and she's become something of a Jonah figure that needs throwing overboard, although I do hope the whale has a cough.
Yeah, I mean, this is John. My observation is so many of them in public say they support her, but in private, they'd like to get rid of her. The fear they have, the reason she hasn't gone, John, is because what they fear is a leadership contest with a Brexiteer versus a Remainer, a party in crisis, and a country that then calls for a general election, and perhaps Mr Corbyn coming into Downing Street. That's all that's keeping her in position, John, in my view.
I think they're misguided because we all know she's not going to fight the next election, and the fight back should start now. They get someone confident and competent in, and we surely give ourselves a much better chance of making better progress.
So who, John? Come on, tell us. Reveal.
Oh, well, we've got the three Brexiteers and then the dark horse, the MOG.
So which of them could, and they've got to do two things. One, unite the party, and two, let Brussels know we're not going to be bullied around and we should be taken seriously. Who fits that job?
Well, I would like to see a debate and let them put up their stalls and buy from the best offer accordingly.
OK, fine. John, thank you. John thinks she's got to go. She's shot. It's a joke. It's not working. John says we need a fresh start for Britain on Facebook. Marty says even if May was replaced, her replacement still would not play a major part in the Brexit negotiations. You know that, Nigel. Well, look, David Davis and his department, they're the ones doing it hands-on with Monsieur Barnier and his team. But let's be honest, the position the British leader takes, especially at these big summits that happen a few times every year, is absolutely crucial. And when I was in Strasbourg last week, OK, Catalonia dominated everything that was happening that morning. But what was interesting was the Verhofstadts and others really are very happy because what she did was to concede we need to have a transitional period, concede another up to 20 billion sterling for that period. And we keep conceding, and they keep saying, oh, no, that's not enough. We want more than that. So they think they've effectively got her on the run. And to turn that around is going to take some performance on the 19th of October. Now, that's enough from me, because unlike all the other Sunday morning shows on television and radio, where it is commentators talking to each other, politicians talking to each other, journalists talking to each other, the whole point of LBC is this is the place where the public get to have their say. John is in Southend-on-Sea. Good morning, John.
Hi, Nigel. I have to say it's an absolute pleasure to speak to you.
Good morning. Well, thank you. And so, John, should she go now, or does she realistically have one last chance to turn this thing around?
Well, I mean, I couldn't agree with everything you've said. Everything you've said is spot on. I mean, she's not going to go, is she? Depressingly, but she's like the wind. She looks like a. She just, I don't know. She's not the person.
But John, she sold herself. No, I'm not the person. She sold herself to the country. Strong and stable leadership. Do you begin to doubt that?
Well, it's anything but. She looks scared out of her brains, to be honest with you. But, I mean, the interesting thing you were just saying about her party speech last week was just this fallacy that the Conservatives are capitalist. I mean, it was the biggest state socialist speech I've ever heard. I mean, it's just depressing. We just need a real Brexiteer in there, and we need a real Tory government with Tory principles. But it isn't happening, is it?
Well, she will stay as leader for now, John, but unless she does something quite dramatic to turn this around, she will, in my view, be gone by Christmas, because support is leaching away. John, I thank you. Now, an outfit called Brexit Watch say, I think Nigel Farage is afraid of a no-Brexit deal. He will never admit it. Now listen here, Brexit Watch. I coined the phrase in the referendum, no deal is better than a bad deal. No deal is better than where we are now, paying up to £10 billion every single year into an organisation that overregulates many of our industries, takes away our fishing waters and bans us from making our own trade deals with other parts of the world. I would like a grown-up, sensible trade deal, and I made that speech in Berlin a few weeks ago and in Prague just a fortnight ago to say, look, we are a great export market for you. We're happy to go on with sensible free trade, but from what I can see, from the Junkers, the Barniers, the Verhofstadts. What I can see from these people is total obstructionism. Anyway, they're far too busy defending police barbarity in Catalonia than to worry about a UK trade deal. I'm not scared in the least. Ed in Hounslow, are you scared of no deal, Ed?
Good morning, Nigel.
Good morning.
I'm very scared that there are a great many people who would like that to be the case, and well done to your good self for the years of tireless effort that you put in to ensure that we would be in the position that we're in now, and thank God for it.
Well, Ed, to be honest with you, I don't want us to be in the position we're in now. I want us having voted for Brexit. I didn't want to wait 9 months, trigger Article 50. I didn't want the Article 50 process to last 2 years unless it absolutely had to. Now I'm being told there's a transition deal, and what was the sort of weasel wording she used? That would last around 2 years, which means to the next general election. So, Ed, I was pleased to play whatever role I did in getting that referendum, but I want some action.
Yes, absolutely, and so do all of us people out here who are listening to this nonsense that we hear repetitively on the radio about, Remainers wanting us to do this and that and t'other. As regards to Theresa May, the performance that she put on the other day, I don't think that Rowan Atkinson could have put on a better performance. I think she has to be known now as Mrs. Bean, doesn't she?
Yeah, it was.
And as regards to whether she should she stay or should she go, I think we should consult the Moody Blues. You remember their record?
Go on.
Now.
Go now.
Yeah,
I do.
And I think that's what she's got to do. She's a laughing stock. She's a liability.
Well, I think she should go, Ed, but she's not going to go because the party isn't yet ready to ditch her. And therefore, maybe, just maybe, Ed, she has one last chance on the 19th of October to redeem herself. We'll see. Ed from Hounslow there, like a lot of Brexiteers. And it's a voice that I don't think we hear and see enough of in mainstream media. There are many, many, many millions of Brexit voters out there who are pretty bloomin' angry about the time all this is taking. Mark from Sevenoaks, what's your perspective? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, really, people seem to be trying to choose the leader of negotiations who will negotiate the deal they want. And I think there's a different way of looking at it. I think that we ought to be negotiating several deals, and it could be easier actually to do that than to just stick to one, because we could start with a deal which was close to what we have now and gradually add in the things that we want. And that way the deal process will be easier, and the choice could be made later on by Parliament or whatever as to which one to go for. It would mean that everybody could have push their own particular view and get a deal of the sort they want and choose later.
So that would be sort of a multiple choice type option, Mark. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, I am. I think that the negotiations would go better. It would be a better example to the terrible situation in Spain that's evolving.
Awful.
And I also think that it will avoid a potential problem that I think hasn't been talked about enough. With the transition period lasting as it does, it'll be almost 5 years since the referendum.
I know. That's what's making as many of us angry, Mark.
I understand that, but there's a difficulty with it, because by then there'll be 4 to 5 million people who didn't get a vote in the referendum because they were too young. And the question then is, will the MPs be willing to say to those people, no, you're not having a say. Oh, by the way, in a few months' time, vote for me in the general election. So, with the multiple choice deal, you're giving the possibility of a compromise. And I know that some people may not want a compromise. They may want exactly what they want. But there's the potential, if there is just a rather hard deal, that the MPs will not wish to pay for Brexit with their seats. I mean, you've managed to persuade, remarkably, there are many Remainers to, in the name of democracy, give up and pay for it with their freedom of movement.
Mark, one thing I don't like about your multiple choice deal is the idea that it would stretch out for a long, long time. And I would like this all done and dusted well before the next general election. But I thank you. A very interesting approach there from Mark in Sevenoaks. You're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show here at LBC. It's 10:30 and time for the news with Andy Ivey.
Theresa May is promising not to hide from a challenge with speculation of a cabinet reshuffle later in the month that could see Boris Johnson demoted. The Prime Minister's come under pressure to freshen up her top team. Storm Nate has hit the Mississippi coast, the first hurricane to make landfall in the state since Hurricane Katrina in 2005, but it's weakened to a tropical storm as it moves inland. Internet trolls are to be targeted by the first national police unit dedicated to tackling online hate crime. It's hoped it'll drive up prosecutions for abuse on social media. LBC weather, largely dry with sunny spells for many and light winds, but showers for northern and western parts, highs of 17 degrees.
LBC travel in Kensington. The A4 Cromwell Road is blocked westbound because of an accident at Gloucester Road. 2 cars are involved and there are queues from the Natural History Museum. The Royal Parks Half Marathon is on this morning, so there are lots of queues in central London, including Hyde Park Corner, the Mall, Whitehall and the Strand. The Shoreditch 10K is also underway, so closures include Southgate Road and Hoxton Street. In Ladbroke Grove, St Mark's Road is closed both ways because of a building fire between St Quintin Avenue and Barbary Road. And on the Tube, engineering works means there's no Circle line today between Aldgate and Edgware Road via Victoria. LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff.
This is LBC.
Laughing, loving, playing, guiding, caring.
Being a parent doesn't stop when your life does. Take care of your loved one's futures today at legalandgeneral.com, the UK's #1 life insurance provider.
Growing, learning, dreaming.
You are forever a parent. Cover from £6 a month. Limitations and exclusions apply. Claim based on new life insurance sales in 2016.
Ooh, winter can hit you hard if your boiler's not up to it. So make sure your home or business stays a step ahead this winter with a new boiler from British Gas for half price. You'll still get our full fixed price guarantee and our full 5-year warranty. And you'll only pay full price for the installation. Oh, and don't worry, you will get a full boiler. It's only the price we've cut in half. But hurry, this half price offer ends 31st of October. Get yours now and be a step ahead this winter. Search British Gas New Boiler. Conditions apply.
Travel Pack. Have the right flight at the right price. In fact, we'll price match most worldwide flights if you find one cheaper elsewhere at the time of booking. So, if you need to book a flight, remember the Travel Pack price match. Call Travel Pack on 0208 903 9999. You won't find a better price for your flight. Travel Pack 0208 903 9999. ATOL protected. Excludes low-cost operators. Competitors must be ATOL licensed. Conditions apply.
When most people think of 3D, they think of movies, games, or TV. At Darwood & Tanner, we think of it as a process of determining the shape and volume of your jawline in 3-dimensional space, allowing us to create the perfect dental implant solution for you. To be amazed at the transformational effect of Darwood & Tanner dental implants, visit darwoodandtanner.co.uk. Darwood & Tanner, obsessive about dental implant technology.
You know the drill. Put your savings in the bank, earn interest, feel utterly underwhelmed. It's time to talk to Cufflink, the award-winning peer-to-peer company. They're not a bank, but are regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. You lend your money with theirs onto property loans, and you can get up to 7.2% gross interest on the whole lot. Make the most of your savings with Cufflink. Visit lendingtogether.co.uk. Past returns are not necessarily a guide to future returns. Your capital is at risk.
The Renault Scrappage Scheme is now on at Renault Retail Group. So, say au revoir to your old car and hello to saving thousands of pounds on a brand new Renault. Find your nearest dealer at renaultretail.co.uk. Exclusions and eligibility criteria apply. See renaultretail.co.uk.
So, start of the week, I'm on the edge of my seat with Game of Thrones. By the middle of the week, I'm seeing stars with Tin Star. The next thing you know, it all kicks off with A League of Their Own. You see, with Sky TV, I can enjoy Sky Atlantic's big screen drama and 45 channels of catch-up TV, all for £20 a month. And right now, there are great broadband offers too. Search Sky Bundles. Sky. Believe in better. £20 standard setup, Sky Q-Kit loaned at no cost, new 18-month TV contract, terms apply.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Some of you are even more sceptical than me when it comes to the question of whether Mrs May's the right person to go to Brussels on the 19th of October, represent our country and set out a fresh position on Brexit. Jimmy says Theresa May and her backers have no intention of actually leaving the European Union. It's all a charade. Well, I hope you're wrong, Jimmy. There'll be a lot of anger if you were to turn out to be right. Theo says no deal with May. Apply the WTO rules, even unilaterally. Any delay makes no sense. sense. David's quite upset. He says, we voted leave. It should happen before the general election. Any party that wants to fight the next one on going back into the EU is welcome to do so. It doesn't change the fact we voted leave. My concern, David, and it kind of links in a bit to Mark's call from Sevenoaks before the break, the worry is, with transition and everything else, that effectively it becomes unfinished business at the time of the next general election. That's my concern. I wonder what Sean in Blackpool thinks of the whole thing. Good morning.
Good morning, Nigel. And just to say how nice it is to speak to somebody who is so intellectual and knows what Britain needs.
Well, I mean, I'm called many things by some that like me and other things by those that don't, Sean. But I've always thought that Brexit would give us a fantastic opportunity. And I'm just really frustrated we're not gripping it, Sean.
Yeah, well, at the moment, I'm currently in hospital after being in a car accident and I'm paralysed on my left side.
Gosh.
Actually, the NHS is struggling. I've seen patients waiting on trolleys in corridors in the hospital I'm currently at for up to 18 hours because they're struggling for nursing staff, they're struggling for beds. And this is all because of all the cuts that Theresa May and her party have done. Now, if the Article 51 had been triggered, £388 million a week would be pumped back into the NHS.
Well, I don't know about that. May be over-egging it a bit, Sean. But, certainly we could put some of the Brexit savings into the National Health Service. That's true. But isn't the real problem that you're, and by the way, I'm very sorry to hear about your difficulties, but isn't the real problem that you're seeing there in Blackpool that our population is rising by 500,000 every year, and our growth in hospital and medical services simply isn't keeping up?
Yes, that's right. That is right. But that is because of the Conservative Party. The party needs to go and let Labour take over. Jeremy Corbyn is the man we need in Brussels.
Well, Sean, do you know something? I might have agreed with that a few months ago because, much as I disagree with a lot of what Corbyn stands for, he's always on the European Union for 30-something years, been sound as a pound as far as I'm concerned, believing we should govern ourselves, make our own laws, not be part of a system that is very much in hock to multinationals and giant banks and all the rest of it. But the trouble is, Sean, that now Corbyn's been turned by his own parliamentary party. He's now supporting transition. They're even limbering up to keep us in the single market. So maybe, Sean, Jeremy Corbyn has let people down at the moment even worse than the Conservatives.
Yeah, but the youth love Jeremy Corbyn, and that's something that we need to focus on, is getting our country back to the way it used to be, getting out of the EU by triggering Article 51.
Article 50. Well, Sean, we'll see. And how much longer are you going to be stuck in the hospital?
A few months.
Few months. Gosh. Our thoughts are with you, Sean. Be patient. I've spent several months in hospital. It's pretty mind-numbing, and even aside from whatever you're suffering from, it's a very difficult psychological thing to go through. Horrible. Don't recommend it. We haven't anyone in the current government that isn't laughed at on the international stage, says Mark on Twitter. Would they laugh at Boris? Yeah, actually, they probably would. But anyway, it doesn't mean he wouldn't do a good job. He might. Who knows? What does Lisa in Stamford think? Lisa, good morning.
Morning, Nigel. I actually don't think it matters who we have leading the company. Certainly, as far as Brexit goes. I'd like to tell you what I'd heard on. I was watching BBC Parliament last week, and it was the MEP. Lob,
yes,
you were there.
Yes, I was.
And you'd raised the argument over the Catalonian situation. Now, I don't know if you'd left the room at this time, but they carried on slating Britain and Brexit and all that. And then there was an Austrian MEP stood up. I can't remember his name, and he basically was saying that he thought the way that Europe were treating the UK was disgraceful. He said, I've heard a lot of you, meaning the EU lot over there, in the corridors, saying that they didn't want UK to leave Europe, that they were going to stop UK leaving Europe, they were going to block them at every juncture. And he was saying that he thought it was disgraceful. He said the British people are voting.
Lisa, your point is very interesting, and I did talk about this during the week, But what happened in the European Parliament, apart from the Catalonian issue, which I'm going to talk about after 11 o'clock, because I feel very strongly that the fact the EU, which pretend to be all for human rights and dignity of the individual, effectively backed the Spanish government's action in Barcelona and elsewhere in Catalonia last week as the use of necessary force. That was one thing going on. The other thing, Lisa, that was going on was that charming Mr Verhofstadt had a resolution that he put before the European Parliament, and it was to make a series of demands on Britain as to what Britain needs to do before they will even contemplate talking to us about trade. And as part of that resolution, they went very much further than anything you've heard talked about so far by Juncker, Barnier, etc. And that passed by 557 votes to 92. And the biggest worry of all I've got, Lisa, is if we do spend goodness knows how long on negotiations, ultimately, under the Article 50 process, the European Parliament could veto the whole bloomin' thing. So this is not a straightforward procedure. And so I'm going to disagree with your first point. I think it does matter who leads the country. I think, Lisa, it's time we actually went to that European summit and got tough.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree.
But can Theresa May do it? Is it within her to do it, or is she now past her sell-by date, and is it only a matter of time before she goes?
I feel sorry for her, and I would like to give her a chance, but she has got to toughen up. She really has.
Yeah, when you say you feel sorry for her, it's exactly what Nicola Sturgeon was saying this morning. If we're feeling sorry for our leader, it's not a very good place, Lisa, is it?
It's not.
No, it's not. Listen, thank you ever so much for your call. Philip says to me on Facebook, whoever took her place would have the same problems, too much division. Philip, that may be true, but I thought it was very, very interesting that this morning, Ruth Davidson, who, is seen as a bit of an up-and-coming star. They won 13 seats in Scotland at the election. She's clearly being invited onto every major media show there is out there. And, what's interesting is she's always been seen as being very pro-single market, very much more pro-EU than the majority of the Conservative Party. And there she is this morning on the Marr Show saying, actually, no deal could be the right solution. So I just wonder whether they see an opportunity here, because they realise that the Labour Party have effectively said to people who want to end freedom of movement and want to leave the single market, sorry guys, we're betraying you. So I wonder whether there's a bit of political positioning. I wonder whether they're beginning to see that by taking a more resolute Brexit line, it might do them some good. I wonder what Susan in Liverpool thinks. Good morning.
Morning, Nigel.
So, should May go, Susan?
Yeah, I want May gone.
Right.
I want her gone. She is a weak, and I actually don't feel sorry for her. I think she's quite arrogant, because I think she knows that she is unsuitable to take us out of the EU. And I think she is quite stubborn about it, and that's why she's staying, but I think she needs to go.
And if she goes, and who knows, she might at some point between now and Christmas say that she's suffering ill health or whatever it may be. These things have happened in the past. Is there an obvious replacement, Susan?
Well, there is to me.
Is there?
It's got to be Jacob Rees-Mogg. I mean, to be honest with you, I have 3 people on my list that I would like to leave this country. And I don't just mean out of the EU, I mean for everything else.
Yeah.
The 3 people on my list is obviously your good self.
Right.
But that's obviously a pipe dream, but it's something that I would have loved to have seen. The second is Jacob Rees-Mogg, and the third guy is a guy who actually isn't an MP, but is Douglas Murray, who talks a lot of sense about the safety of this country and about the safety of these lovely people in this country.
Yeah, Douglas Murray, writer, blogger, etc., and somebody that's been warning about radical Islam for many, many, many years. Well, Susan, you might get Jacob Rees-Mogg, I don't know, but I thank you, and Susan, they're absolutely clear that May has to go. You're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's 10:45.
You are pernickety.
What is the first
I just want to say a couple of things.
My problem with it is the following.
LBC at the weekend. Alex Salmond.
If my granny had been born in Limerick as opposed to Linlithgow, then I would be applying for Irish citizenship because of the uncertainty which has been caused by politicians who talked a big game on Brexit but haven't done even the elementary things of securing the position not just of European nationals but those who are looking to the future.
Leading Britain's conversation. Alex Salmond. Today from 3 on LBC.
Hi, I was hoping to get a price on selling my car. Online, they offered me £3,000.
OK, how about £4,000?
What? Really? Brilliant.
Yeah, great news. We buy any car too, but we pay £1,000 more.
We call that one of life's small victories. Bring Vauxhall a quote from the leading online car buyer and we'll beat it by £1,000 when you trade in your old car for a brand new Vauxhall. Plus, that's on top of our other great offers. Search Vauxhall Buy Any Car. Vauxhall. Isn't life brilliant? Offer and part exchange for new passenger car orders which are registered by 31st of December, based on the true condition of the vehicle. Participating retailers only. Terms and conditions apply. See vauxhall.co.uk/WeBuyAnyCar2.
At EDF Energy, we train smart, we arrive smart, we work smart, we leave smart. We are the Smart Installation Society, and we're recruiting now for more great people to be part of our smart meter installer team.
We are the Smart Installation Society. We are the Smart Installation Society.
Join us today. Search EDF Energy Smart Careers. Smart metering from EDF Energy. Works for me.
So, start of the week, I'm on the edge of my seat with Game of Thrones. By the middle of the week, I'm seeing stars with Tin Star. The next thing you know, it all kicks off with A League of Their Own. You see, with Sky TV, I can enjoy Sky Atlantic's big screen drama and 45 channels of catch-up TV, all for £20 a month. And right now, there are great broadband offers too. Search Sky Bundles. Sky. Believe in better. £20 standard setup, Sky Q kit loaned at no cost, new 18-month TV contract, terms apply.
I could be at home now. Maybe watching telly with the kids. Or I was thinking about going for a pint. Instead, I've punctured my lung and it's slowly filling up with blood. I'm going into cardiac arrest now. Silly place to overtake, really. Still, you live and learn, don't you? Don't you?
Motorcyclists, think. Don't ride too fast.
To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters. Ooh, glad I brought a coat. Thinking ahead, Wilbur? Well, it's like getting home care from British Gas before winter catches you out. From only £12 a month, that's less than 40p a day. Your boiler's serviced every year. If it still breaks down, we'll fix it. And until 23rd of October, you get 1 month free on most home care products when you buy online. You brought the umbrella. Thinking ahead. Not bad for a penguin. Stay a step ahead of winter. Search British Gas Home Care. Conditions apply.
When you run your own business, being in the right place at the right time can make all the difference. And as the UK's #1 commercial vehicle brand, we understand this too. That's why at the Ford Transit Show live event, we'll give you a free sat-nav when you purchase a new commercial vehicle, so your business can be in the right place at the right time, every time. Visit your nearest Ford dealer between the 7th and 15th of October. Ford. Together, we go further.
The free entry-level satellite navigation system available across the Transit range, excluding base and Tornado series vehicles, to be contracted between the 7th and 15th of October 2017 and registered between the 7th of October 2017 and 30th of June 2018. Offer available to retail and eligible fleet customers only at participating Ford dealers, not available with any other promotions.
Leading Britain's conversation, The Nigel Farage Show. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Some are calling for May to go in public. Grant Shapps claims there are about 30 Conservative MPs that wanted to go right now. Others are keeping their powder dry. Everybody agrees it isn't really going very well, but they're terrified that if the Prime Minister goes, that there'll be a leadership election, more division, and perhaps it'll even lead to a general election. But what interests me this morning is the Prime Minister is indicating, and we see the front page of a Sunday Telegraph on this, they're indicating that they are at last genuinely preparing for a no-deal scenario. And the story is that money is going to get spent, in particular, with new technology to speed up customs checks at borders if the UK reverts to World Trade Organisation rules. And I'm just wondering, does that give the Prime Minister one last chance? If she was to go on the 19th of October to the Leaders' Summit in Brussels and really stick it to them and make it clear that, we're not going to get pushed around anymore by these people, could that perhaps bring the party together? Interesting. Nigel, I've just watched Ruth Davidson on the Andrew Marr show. She's the person we need as Prime Minister, says Jay. But again, you see, Jay, the point is quite a big shift in Ruth Davidson's political position this morning, saying she's prepared to accept no deal as well. So maybe this Prime Minister, who's been described as the walking dead and many other things, maybe she has one last chance. I don't know. I wonder what Stan, who's calling from Haverhill, thinks of that. Good morning.
All right, Nigel, how are you?
I'm very well, Stan. Very well indeed. So, who's the right person, Stan, to lead us into these Brexit talks?
Well, they keep saying about him, but I honestly reckon it's going to be Jacob Rees-Mogg because he's very smart, isn't he? He's very on the ball, and he's got all these witty comebacks, and he's well respected in the Houses of Parliament.
But
I just can't see.
But Stan, you could argue. And yeah, Jacob's great value. If that was no question. It was very funny, wasn't it, seeing him in Manchester talking to a snarling protester. It was very, very amusing. But
yeah, he's very calm, wasn't he?
He is. No, he is. He's very together. But Stan, he's got no political record in office of any kind at all. He takes a position on abortion, on gay marriage, that would probably be anathema to a very large chunk of this country. And there are people who say to me, but he's just too posh, isn't he?
Being able to, if you're posh or if you're common, it doesn't affect your ability to do a job, does it?
I don't think it does, no. But we did have, with Cameron's years, a lot of talk that perhaps it was time that one school didn't have quite the amount of dominance in British politics that it's had for the last 250 years, and that it was time to sort of move away from Eton. But no, Stan, actually, I agree with you. I think it doesn't matter where you come from, what your accent is. If you come across as being honest and straightforward, that is what people increasingly want. But if it was Jacob... All right, Stan, let's play a game.
Yeah, okay.
Theresa May goes next Monday, ill health. Jacob is anointed because Stan in Haverhill, amongst others, are pleading, you see, for Jacob. And Jacob becomes the Prime Minister by acclamation, and he heads off to Brussels on Eurostar. Probably private jet, actually, but if he's Prime Minister. But he heads off on the 19th of October. What is it he should say as the leader of this country to get us the best deal?
Are you going to actually bother negotiating with us? And if the answer's no, okay, bye.
Right.
Just say goodbye, and then we can have our own. We can write our own law. We can have our own sovereignty, can't we? We can write our own laws. We can stop the flood of immigration, which we can't deny is happening.
Mm-hmm. No,
and,
well, we still have an open door. Yes, that's certainly true to the European Union. So that's okay. And you think Jacob's the man that would do that? Yeah.
100% cert. He is the man to do it.
OK, Stan, I thank you. Be quite fun seeing Jacob going to the European Council as our Prime Minister. He'd probably address them in Latin, wouldn't he, or ancient Greek or something like that. Annabelle is calling from Twickenham. Annabelle, some people feel sorry for Theresa May, sympathetic for the tough week that she's had. How do you feel?
She's like Uriah Heep.
Right, go on.
She really is. I mean, say we need a strong person. We need someone like Macron, our version of Macron, and he would be Dominic Raab.
Dominic Raab. Now, this is a name that we don't hear very often, and yet, Annabelle, I first met Dominic Raab on Newsnight. Mm-hmm. It was a panel, and I'm thinking it's over 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. 11 years ago, 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. I was on the panel. Mm-hmm. Raab was on the panel. Mm-hmm. I'd never met him. I'd vaguely heard of his name, and by the end of that show I thought, wow, this guy is really, really good. So I completely understand what you're saying. What is it about Raab that makes you think he could be the right person?
He's our version of Macron.
Just as simple as that, yeah?
Yeah, because I think it needs to have someone who is an equal, and I think she's out of her depth. That's what I think, and I wouldn't mind people saying that. She's out of her depth. And I've been thinking about that all along, because they're taking the rise out of the country and she's making the country a laughingstock. I think she has got to go for the sake of it.
OK, Annabelle, perfectly clear that she's got to go. And Dominic Raab's name being thrown into the hat, and yeah, he is a very bright guy, a very smart performer, and has a bit more experience around government than Jacob Rees-Mogg has got. Grenville is calling from Cumbria. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, what's to happen, Grenville? Come on, give us a solution.
Well, I think, for a start, you wasted 20 years of your life trying to get us out of Brexit, and it's not going to happen. I think Theresa May is the right person for the job, but the powers that be are just pulling the strings, and she isn't going to do what they tell her, if you know what I mean.
So you think there are big forces? I mean, I had a earlier a text from Jimmy saying much the same thing. You think there are big global forces, ultimately, that want to string this out to the next general election, and that ultimately the big money stops us from leaving, Grenville? Is that what you really think?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's a simple solution. I mean, if I want to trade with my next door neighbour, I trade with him. But there's no big deal about it, is there? I mean, if the deal's right, you trade with him.
No. I totally understand that. I mean, ultimately, trade is not done by governments. Trade is done because consumers look at a product and say, do you know what? I trust its reliability. I like the price. Sure, that's how business goes on. But I think it is a bit of a conspiracy theory, Grenville, to suggest that there are global forces that will stop Brexit from happening.
No, I don't think I'm not a conspiracy theorist in itself. I just look at the bigger picture. I mean, when Theresa May first came into power, first became Prime Minister, she said all these wonderful things, and I punched my fist in the air thinking she's the woman for the job. Mm-hmm. But as time's gone by, it's completely reversed everything that she's ever said. You know, all these jams, all these sort of talks she's always done, she's just come reversed on everything.
No, well, it's not been very impressive, Grenville. I think I've got time for one quick last call. Tony in Fareham, what's your point on Theresa May?
Yes, hello, Nigel. I think she missed a golden opportunity in Florence, because what she should have done is she should have addressed the reasons to a European audience why the British people voted, albeit by a small majority, to leave the EU in the first place. Mm-hmm. Then, rather than stonewalling any sensible negotiations, then that would have put them on the back foot. She should have said it like it is. The reasons that many people voted is because they can see the state that the Europe is and what the EU has done to European economies over the last 10 years.
But given that she didn't take that chance, Tony, is it now too late for her, or can she reassert some sort of authority in Brussels on the 19th of October?
Well, that's what she needs to do. She has one last chance.
One last chance. Tony, I agree with you. I've got to end it there. I'm out of time, but I agree with Tony. She probably does actually have one last chance. Now, hundreds of people are gathering in central Barcelona right now ahead of a rally to protest against the Catalan government's push for secession. We'll be crossing live to LBC's political editor. He's there in the midst of that march. But will Spain's reaction to the Catalonian referendum last week mean that independence separation is now inevitable? If you think the heavy-handed approach by Spain will drive more Catalonians towards independence, call me on 0345 6060 973. Maybe you think Spain needs to remain united, in which case text on 84850. And if you're listening from Spain, you can ring, text or tweet Farage and LBC at LBC, and watch me live on Facebook. We're live from London and Spain next.
On FM, online, on your mobile and on digital radio. Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 11 o'clock, the Prime Minister has suggested she wouldn't shy away from demoting Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, with speculation of a cabinet reshuffle later this month. Theresa May has told the Sunday Times part of her job is to have the best people in her top team. Labour's Shadow Foreign Secretary Emily Thornberry says Mrs May should resign as she can't unite them over Brexit.
There's definitely a chunk of them that want to have no deal at all, which would be definitely contrary to the British interests. And then there's another lot who kind of think, well, not quite sure, and want to actually spend their time fighting over who should be the next leader. She doesn't have enough authority. She can't lead her party.
Nate has been downgraded from a hurricane to a tropical storm. Experts say it's expected to quickly weaken as it moves inland after hitting Mississippi and Alabama. People are gathering in Barcelona for a rally to protest against the Catalan government's push to break away from the rest of Spain. It comes a week after violence fled during an independence referendum declared illegal by the national government. Nigel will be leading Britain's conversation on this next. Surrey police are investigating after a man's body was found in a road in Woking overnight. Officers think he may have been hit by more than one vehicle and want to hear from anyone with a dash cam who drove down Monument Road before they closed it. A new national police hub is to be set up to track down online trolls. It'll aim to improve support for victims and drive up prosecutions for hate crime. LBC's technology expert Will Guyatt says removing abuse on social media is one thing, but tracking down the people responsible for it is much more difficult.
When accounts get blocked or removed on social media, it's very easy for somebody to restart another one. And that's, I think, what the government are trying to get in place with these organisations, make them take their responsibilities a bit more clearly and also deal with these issues when these things happen.
Prince Harry and the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge are donating £2 million to improve the nation's mental health. The money has come from their charitable trust. It'll be used to develop online new tools, and blogger Joe Irwin from the Heads Together campaign says it's the best way to reach young people.
We need to be realistic, and this is how young people are looking at everything they see, news, how they're connecting with their friends. So that's the way that we need to connect with them, and hopefully by contacting them on their phone, reaching out to them via the internet, we'll be in a position where we can promote them to have an actual face-to-face conversation.
Lewis Hamilton says he can only have dreamed of having a 59-point lead over his main championship rival with 4 races to go. The Mercedes driver has won the Japanese Grand Prix, while Sebastian Vettel retired with engine trouble. LBC weather, largely dry with sunny spells for many and light winds, but showers for northern and western parts, highs of 17 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Andy Ivy.
Alice has just got herself the cap and track tariff from E.ON, so she's got one less thing to think about.
Lovely.
Her energy costs are capped below the average market price. And if the market price goes down, hers will too.
Oh, that's the stuff.
Give yourself one less thing to think about and stay below the average market price. Discover the right E.ON tariff for you today. Search E.ON Energy now.
Residential customers only. Prices reviewed quarterly and based on Ofgem typical domestic consumption at medium use. Eligibility criteria apply.
LBC Travel on the M25 anti-clockwise in Hertfordshire. The main carriageway is closed at junction 22 for St Albans because a car's overturned. There are queues from junction 23 for the A1M at South Mims. In Kensington, the A4 Cromwell Road is closed westbound because of an accident at Gloucester Road. 3 cars are involved, one of them's overturned, and there are queues from the Natural History Museum. The Royal Parks Half Marathon continues this morning, so there are road closures in central London, including Hyde Park Corner, the Mall, Whitehall and the Strand. And on London Overground, there's no service between Wandsworth Road and Clapham Junction. That's because of late finishing engineering works. LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show.
Last Sunday, we witnessed the most extraordinary scenes in Barcelona and across other parts of Catalonia. The government was going ahead, the regional government was going ahead with a referendum that had not been cleared nationally in Spain and had been declared illegal. And what the Spanish government decided to do was to use virtually every means available to them to prevent the vote from taking place at all. Would perhaps have been rather cleverer to say, you push ahead with your vote and we'll just call it invalid afterwards. But no, about 10,000 police turned up, and as it finished up with 900 people being injured, many of them hospitalised, as women were dragged by their hair from polling stations, old people beaten over the head with batons as the police tried to clear the stations, tried to stop people from voting. It really difficult to believe this was happening in what is supposed to be a modern Western democracy. Even more astonishing was that the European Union, who love to interfere in the affairs of every member state, whether it's criticising the Polish government for judicial appointments, condemning the Hungarians for not taking migrant quotas after Mrs Merkel let rather a lot of people in, or whether it's almost anything Britain does, you know, they're very quick to criticise, and they always say, the Union, they're about human rights, they're about the dignity of the individual, and yet, they, in the case of the Spanish treatment of people trying to vote in a referendum in Catalonia, ultimately, they said, that they thought necessary force had been used. And I was really, really angry about this. This is what I said to them in the European Parliament last Tuesday. Mr Juncker comes here for his one appearance in the Strasbourg session this week, and there is absolutely no mention made of the dramatic events that have taken place inside a European Union member state that is allegedly a modern democracy. Now, one of the reasons that I always wanted Brexit was because I thought the system of lawmaking, whereby the Commission has the sole right to initiate legislation, was something that would in fact damage and in the end destroy any concept of national democracy. And yeah, I've called the European Union undemocratic, I've called it anti-democratic, but never, ever, in my fiercest criticisms here, did I think we would see the police of a member state of the Union injuring 900 people in an attempt to stop them going out to vote. Whether or not it was legal nationally for people in Catalonia to have a vote, surely people are allowed to express an opinion. We saw women being dragged out of polling stations by their hair, old ladies with gashes in their forehead. The most extraordinary display. And what do we get from Mr Juncker today? Not a dicky bird. Well, that was how I felt about it. And following on from not a dicky bird, his number two, Frans Timmermans, as I say, the next day said that sometimes you have to use necessary force. My view is that Catalan separatism has always been in a minority, but has been growing over the course of the last few years. And my view is the way the Spanish government have behaved and the way the EU has behaved, I think it will drive more people towards wanting separation for Catalonia. That's my view. You can disagree with it. You can agree with it by calling 0345 60 60 973. You can text to 84850. You can tweet on @LBC using the hashtag Farage and LBC. You can watch us on Facebook and comment there too. And particularly if you're in Spain, any part of Spain, keen to hear what you've got to say. Now, LBC's political editor Theo Usherwood is now in Barcelona, where it's just after midday, of course, and he's amongst a march that is going on now. Theo, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Nigel. I'm on a march for unity. This has been organised by the People's Party, President Rajoy's party, to try and persuade Catalonia to remain part of Spain. There are chants for the Catalan president, Carlos Puigdemont, to go to jail. There are calls for Spain to be united, that it's stronger and it will never be defeated as long as Catalonia remains. And I'm joined by a number of activists who are here trying to persuade Catalonia to remain part of Spain. Madam, why are you here?
I'm here because we want to show the international community that you have only seen one part of our and we want to see.
Yeah, we'll have to come back to that. It all sounded very noisy and very dramatic when the line went. But the point the lady was making is, of course, a very good point when she says you've only seen one side of the story. And I think, that is true, that what we saw was the story of those that want Catalonia to separate and the way they were treated by the police. And I guess what we were about to hear at a march where people are saying, no, we want Spain to stay together, is that has always been the majority view. In fact, if you go back 10 or 15 years, the number of people who supported Catalonian separation was below 20%. Now, it has been building over the course of the last few years, and Catalonia, of course, remember, is the richest part of Spain. But, and here's the interesting thing, the European Union also said to them that if Catalonia wants to go ahead and separate from the rest of Spain, they wouldn't be allowed to join the European Union. The banks have been telling them that they would all leave. So a huge amount of pressure is being put on from the establishment to stop this from happening. And yet, when the Catalonian Parliament meets on Tuesday, it is possible that their First Minister, Mr. Puigdemont, it's possible that he will simply declare independence. Now, if he does that, how will the Spanish government react? We heard stories in the week that there were 16,000 Spanish soldiers on 3 cruisers moored off Barcelona, and that they would come in and take over the government. So you can see there is the potential here for something really very nasty to happen. Andrew is calling me from Halifax. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning, Nigel. Great to finally speak to you.
Good morning. So what's your part of this story, Andrew?
Well, I'm like you on most things. I mean, I detest the European Union. I hope that it disintegrates within the next decade. But I cannot support the dismemberment of Spain.
Right.
I'm against this push for all sorts of reasons. One is that states do have the right to secede if there is a history of tyranny or a denial of fundamental human rights, such as the case in Kosovo or East Timor. But that's palpably not the case with Spain. The Spanish government has bent over backwards.
Oh, hang on, Andrew. Andrew, hang on. Whoa, down there. Last Sunday, the Spanish government had 10,000 police physically dragging people out of queues who wanted to go and vote. That was a denial of human rights, wasn't it?
Well, let me put it to you like this. If people did defy less confrontational tactics, and that is what it takes to uphold the rule of law, is it disproportionate? Because if it is, you could argue that the action against the miners in 84-85 was disproportionate. Everything else had been tried. And another danger for me is that one of the biggest foreign delegations for this Catalan farce came from parties from the United Kingdom. It came from the Tartan Army of SNP in Scotland, and it came from that terrorist apologising scum across the water in Ulster, Sinn Féin. They clearly believe that this could lead to a domino effect that could trigger separatist causes here in our own country, and that is something that's got to be resisted at all costs.
Well, Andrew, I have never felt any feeling towards the Catalan separatist movement at all. I've never really fully understood it. I've obviously seen what Basque separatism has done in the other part of northern Spain over the years, but I've never had any strong feeling about it at all. But I have to say, since last Sunday, I begin to have a bit of sympathy with the Catalan separatists. And I put it to you, Andrew, that the way the police behaved, the fact that the EU won't condemn it, in fact support it, is likely to drive more people towards separatist feelings.
That's possibly the case, though I never take a teleological view on all this. There's nothing inevitable about Catalan independence.
Sure.
But I do think that some of the tactics, from what we've seen in our highly slanted and biased media, was disproportionate. But the media obviously hasn't been covering a lot of the attacks against moderate Spanish institutions by Catalans over the last goodness knows how many years.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure there's been fault on that side, and I'm sure that calling this referendum, knowing it wasn't sanctioned by national government, was a provocative act. But goodness me, I think they couldn't believe, the separatists in some ways couldn't believe their luck when the Spanish government overreacted the way that it did. Andrew, I thank you. Now, we will go back to Theo Usherwood, but we're having a bit of trouble with signal. It all sounded rather dramatic, didn't it? Adam is in New Denham. Adam, good morning.
Hello there, Nigel.
So am I right in thinking, Adam, that the police overreacted hugely last week, and that will drive more people into the arms of separation?
Oh, it's the best publicity the Catalan movement could ever want. Now, if you take, I'd like to just draw a parallel here, and also I'd like to put in my reason for why the Catalans have gone for independence now, which you may be interested. But first, let me just draw a parallel with Northern Ireland. We were able to hold a peace deal, a negotiation with people who have been bombing and killing and carrying out terrorist activities for over 40 years. We were able to do that. I mean, as much as I despise Blair, I think we've come out with a good deal from the Northern Ireland Agreement.
OK, so why... So Adam, tell me, why now for the Catalan separatists? Why now?
Catalonia has always produced more GDP for Spain than it's actually used. Up until a few years ago, they always received back a rebate to actually say, you've actually produced more for the economy than you've used. They had that rebate cut. Just like Slovenia in the Yugoslavia breakup, they're thinking, well, hang about, we're producing a lot, we're not getting it back, we are supporting other areas of Spain, why are we working and producing more than other people use? It sounds a bit like the EU, doesn't it?
Yeah, you think money's at the heart of this, yeah?
always in politics goes out the window when it comes down to people's finances and whether they think they're having a mickey taken.
Okay. You may be right, Adam, but there's also some history going back centuries of Catalans being crushed once or twice, etc. I thank you for your call. Don't forget, I'm going to reveal soon why Hillary Clinton hates me as much as she does. You're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's 11:15.
After that speech...
Shows what good the Chancellor's cough suite is.
Can the Prime Minister find her voice?
In the week she launches a major review of racial disparity in the UK, join me, Ian Dale at Drive, as Theresa May takes your calls.
The Prime Minister, Theresa May, next week, exclusively on LBC.
Calling all units. Reports coming in of Sky's gripping new cop drama Tin Star, epic Game of Thrones and loads more shows, all with Sky TV from £20 a month. Sky TV and Sky Q, the Next Generation box, have been sighted in the vicinity. Witnesses report watching wirelessly all round the home for just £12 extra a month. Units should respond immediately and search Sky Q to join or recontract. Sky. Believe in better. Sky Q multi-screen and upfront payment required. £20 standard setup. Sky Q kit loaned at no cost. New 18-month TV contract. Terms apply.
Do you take credit cards, she says? Yeah. Like I've got a card machine in my toolbox?
No one pays cash these days. I use a PayPal Here card reader. Fits in my pocket. I take cards, even contactless. With no monthly fees. Job done.
Get paid by card or contactless wherever you do business with the PayPal Here card reader. Just £35 until November the 30th. Search for PayPal Here card reader.
Right, you're round then.
Sorry, pal, not carrying cash.
Subject to application approval, terms and transaction fees apply.
Sometimes it can be hard to keep your show on the road, but new Car Genie from the AA makes things easier. Car Genie helps predict and prevent breakdowns. Just plug it into your car and it will warn you and us if there's a potential problem. That should keep you rolling. New Car Genie from the AA. Because anything can happen. Compatible vehicles only. Check the AA.com for details.
Air France.
La France
is in the air.
Fancy flying somewhere with a little more flair? Et voilà! Our Olala deals from London Heathrow let you fly to big destinations for little prices. Shanghai, Lima, and many more. Allez, allez! This offer ends on Tuesday, the 10th of October. Book now at airfrance.co.uk and say au revoir.
Air France.
La France
is in the
air. If you own a Swiss watch and it's time to sell it, speak to watches.co.uk. The whole process runs like clockwork. Rolex, Patek Philippe, Omega, and more. It only takes a couple of ticks, and we pay immediately. Or if you just fancy a change, we could take yours in part exchange. From time on your hands to money in your pocket, it couldn't be easier with watches.co.uk. The pre-owned Swiss watch specialist.
At EDF Energy, we train smart, we arrive smart, we work smart, we leave smart. We are the Smart Installation Society, and we're recruiting now for more great people to be part of our smart meter installer team. We are the Smart Installation Society. We are the Smart Installation Society. Join us today. Search EDF Energy Smart Careers. Smart metering from EDF Energy. Works for me.
Leading Britain's conversation, The Nigel Farage Show. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
So hundreds of people are gathering in central Barcelona and they're rallying and they're protesting against the Catalan government's desire for independence and perhaps an announcement that will come on Tuesday. So there are, as our first caller said, two sides to this debate. Important to know that and to remember that separatism for Catalonia has always been in the minority. But my feeling is the actions of the Spanish police last week and indeed the European Union in backing them up will drive more people into the arms of the separatist movement. Philip says to me by text, there is no excuse for what happened in Spain. And Philip, I think that just about sums the whole thing up. Gary has been doing some thinking on Twitter. He says, The Prime Minister should announce that post-Brexit, the UK will look to form close links with an independent Catalonia, incentivising UK tourists to go there in preference to the rest of Spain. Play the EU at their own game, promote division and conquer. All right, Gary, that's quite a lot to think about. Robin is calling from Herne Hill. Robin, hello.
Hello, Nigel.
So, what did you think of what the police did last Sunday, Robin?
Well, I thought it was a back to the future type of thing that Spain has always looked on that part of Catalonia as troublemakers because of even when George Orwell was over there. And in some ways it's good news for us because people can see what the European Union is really like.
Do you know what? That's what I think too. Yeah.
And I'm by no means right-wing because I think that certain things like energy should be capped. But anyway, that's another situation. But I'm stunned that no media lovies or the left have come out and condemned this. I mean, somebody like Tony Benn or Eric Heffer or Michael Foot would have done.
Yes, they absolutely would have done. Robin, you're right. But of course, now the political class and nearly all of the Parliamentary Labour Party are all EU fanatics. They love it. And the reason people don't want to talk about it is the threat of Catalonia breaking away is a much bigger threat to the European Union. It makes Brexit look like a Sunday afternoon picnic. So they're terrified of it and they want it simply to go away. And Robin, the odds are, or certainly before last Sunday, that Catalan separatism was a clear minority. And yet I just wonder whether the events of last week would have changed that and made more people think, do you know what, to hell with Madrid, to hell with Brussels, we're a wealthy little region, we'll become a country and go it on our own.
Yeah, also the terrorist attack, they did act as one. But even then the Prime Minister was booed by some people in Catalan, and I'm amazed at the left lining up with Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan to stay in the EU.
Robin, I don't get it. I see Bob Geldof occasionally leading protests in London, 25,000 young left-wing protesters, all on the side of Goldman Sachs. I can't work it out either. Robin, I thank you. Now, we're going to Maidenhead and Nemesio. Is that the right pronunciation?
Yes, that's right, yes.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nigel.
So, come on, tell me, have I got this right or wrong?
No, wrong.
Wrong, okay.
You're not giving the balanced view. You are just seems to be on the side of the separatists, right?
Well, can I just say very quickly, and I'll give you the floor, can I just say that I'm not on the side of the separatists. I've never had any feeling for the Catalan separatists, but I do genuinely think that what happened last week was outrageous, and it says a lot about Spain and the European Union that people can defend that kind of behaviour. It would have been much cleverer to allow the referendum to go ahead, to say to people who want Spain to stay united, just boycott it, don't bother to turn up, don't give it legitimacy. And I just feel, Nemesio, that by acting the way they have, that more people will be driven towards it. So I'm not taking sides, but Nemesio, you're on LBC, you're Spanish, you feel strongly about it. Tell me how you see it.
Well, I watch every night I watch the Spanish news. There's a channel called 24 Hours. 24 Hours from RTVE, and then the 24-hour news, okay?
Yep.
And every weekday, at about 9 o'clock English time, they have a discussion on political things. And they are the people that discuss in this program are top journalists from the top newspapers in Spain. And they give the facts. I don't know if you know that how many people were taken to hospital? 4 people.
900 injured.
This is their story.
Yeah.
Some lady bandaged the wrong hand, and they show it to the camera. You know, the voting boxes were translucent. You couldn't see what's inside until they already had votes in it when they were taken to the stations. Some voted in the street. Some people voted 4 times. This is documented. Okay? And another thing I want to say is about the indoctrination of the children in the schools. Okay? Children of 5 years old are taught by the parents, and taking in front of the Spanish police, which are the Spanish police, okay, police of Spain, and call them son of a bitch, bastards, 5-year-olds. Do you think this is correct?
No, I don't. And often separatist movements do have some really, really unpleasant sides to them. Of that, there is no doubt at all. Look, whatever you say about those that went to hospital or didn't, the fact is, I think it's difficult to deny that the Spanish government's reaction was very heavy-handed in trying to stop a vote taking place. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree that the image they gave is horrible.
Yes.
Terrible.
And they and haven't they, because of the way they behaved and the images and the global reaction, albeit not from our friends in Brussels, but the general global reaction, they have actually made. You see, we had this, Nemesio, just over 100 years ago. We had a rebellion, an uprising in Dublin from an Irish separatist movement who were very much in the minority, right? British reaction was to send the Navy up the River Liffey, start shelling parts of Dublin, round up the ringleaders, shoot them, and in doing that, we actually turned the argument the other way, and more people embraced Irish nationalism. And I just think that more people are going to embrace Catalan separatism because of that behaviour last week.
Another thing I would just quickly is the LBC. Last Thursday, you had a person from the left party in Catalonia.
Yes.
I tried to ring you on Thursday, but I couldn't get through.
Okay.
And then yesterday, some other show, they had somebody from the also from the separatist group. Can we get somebody from the government side?
Okay, right. In defence of LBC and myself, that is why Theo Usherwood right now is in the centre of Barcelona with that march that is going on, and that march are people who want Spain to stay united. So, Nemesio, thank you for your call. You know, if we do get things wrong, if we get the balance wrong, we should know. But that is why Theo Usherwood is there, to make sure that we do represent both sides of this story. Camillo is my next caller from Bounds Green. Good morning.
Good morning, Nigel.
Good morning. So you're Spanish, are you?
Yes, I am indeed.
Okay, and how do you feel about the images that were beamed around the world from Barcelona last Sunday?
I'll tell you how I feel, but first of all, I would like to tell you something else. You shouldn't use the problems in Spain, in Catalonia, to attack the EU. It's two different things, two separate things, and you are mixing them up. Because every time the subject comes, you say the EU should have done something. What happened in Catalonia last Sunday was awful. Unfortunately, I have been predicting it for a long time that was going to happen, because precisely that's what the Catalan government wanted. They wanted it because they had no support anywhere, and they wanted the pictures to be seen everywhere. They got what they wanted. The Spanish police weren't taking away people that were voting. They weren't on the queue to vote. They were barricading against the police, so the police couldn't take away the polling boxes. They want the polling boxes, something that the Catalan police, Spain's a democracy, if not, that wouldn't have happened, you know. Catalan police should have closed those polling stations. That was an order coming from the judge. It wasn't Spanish government decision.
No, but people are allowed.
An order coming from the judge.
But you can't stop people.
People are allowed to vote, Nigel.
Yes, of course they are.
But depends what for. The Catalan government are saying this is a vote for independence. Unfortunately, in the Spanish constitution, unless they go to the Senate and they decide and they vote that they can vote for a referendum, that has to be changed for the proper channel. Imagine that the mayor of London decides, because London doesn't need UK, it's wealthy, because this is all about money. It is all about money, yes. If the mayor of London says, okay, we want to break out from the United Kingdom. We are going to vote in London. They have a vote in London, and the majority votes to break away from the United Kingdom.
Yeah, but you see, it wouldn't, Camillo, because what would happen is the British government, for once, would get something right, and they would say, right, these ballot boxes that are being set up next Sunday in schools and wherever around London, this is a completely illegitimate referendum. Our advice is you boycott the whole thing and show it up to be a farce. What the Spanish government did was the opposite. Camillo, I thank you for your call and for your passion, and it is worth remembering, you know, a huge number of people do not want Spain to be broken up. I just think the government has pushed people a little bit closer to it. I will, of course, in a minute also tell you why Hillary Clinton really, really hates me. Right now, you're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. It's 11:30 and time for the news with Andy Ivey.
Theresa May has promised not to hide from a challenge with rumours of an impending cabinet reshuffle that could see Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson demoted. Labour says the Prime Minister doesn't have enough authority and should resign. Scotland Yard says a 47-year-old man arrested after a collision in South Kensington yesterday has been released under investigation. 11 people were injured and 9 of them taken to hospital for treatment. Thousands of people have joined a rally in Barcelona to protest against the Catalan government's push for independence. It comes a week after a banned referendum. LBC weather largely dry with sunny spells for many and light winds, but showers for northern and western parts, highs of 17 degrees.
LBC travel in Hertfordshire. The M25 anti-clockwise remains closed at junction 22 for St Albans because a car's overturned. They're accused from junction 23 for the A1M at South Mims. In Kensington, the A4 Cromwell Road is closed westbound because of an accident at Gloucester Road. 3 cars are involved. One of them's overturned and they're accused from the Natural History Museum. The Royal Parks Half Marathon continues this morning, so there are road closures in central London, including Hyde Park Corner, the Mall, Whitehall and the Strand. And in East London, they're accused on the A13 Newham Way westbound. It's partially blocked because of an accident at Freemasons Road. LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff.
This is LBC.
At EDF Energy, we train smart, we arrive smart, we work smart, we leave smart. We are the Smart Installation Society, and we're recruiting now for more great people to be part of our smart meter installer team.
We are the Smart Installation Society. We are the Smart Installation Society.
Join us today. Search EDF Energy Smart Careers. Smart metering from EDF Energy. Works for me.
Selco Builders Warehouse proudly presents Selco's Deal of the Week.
We've got it at Selco. Selco, it's where the trade go.
Get down to your nearest Selco this week and get a Velux GGL MKO 4-centre pivot roof window for only $179.99 ex-VAT. But hurry, this offer ends 8th of October. Find your nearest branch at selcobw.com.
We've got it at Selco. Selco, it's where the trade go.
She was very much a big part of my wedding. Being my mother of the bride, you would never really see the full glow of her face.
I'm Dr. Michael Zibbets, Senior Clinician at TDC Smile in a Day. In just one day, we gave Stephanie's mother a full set of implants and beautiful fixed teeth. Around 3 months later, we exchanged her first fixed teeth for a final permanent set, in time for the big day.
I mean, the photos themselves speak a million words.
Book your free consultation today. Visit smileinaday.co.uk.
Air France.
La France
is in the air.
Fancy flying somewhere with a little more flair? Et voilà! Our Oh La La deals from London Heathrow let you fly to big destinations for little prices. Shanghai, Lima, and many more. Allez, allez! This offer ends on Tuesday, the 10th of October. Book now at airfrance.co.uk and say au revoir.
Air France.
La France
is in the air.
Relax, it's Trust a Trader. Just type in your postcode, what you need, and ta-da! Local tradespeople appear. Visit trustatrader.com. Trustatrader.com.
When you run your own business, being in the right place at the right time can make all the difference. And as the UK's #1 commercial vehicle brand, we understand this too. That's why at the Ford Transit Show live event, we'll give you a free sat-nav when you purchase a new commercial vehicle, so your business can be in the right place at the right time, every time. Visit your nearest Ford dealer between the 7th and 15th of October. Ford. Together, we go further.
The free entry-level satellite navigation system available across the transit range, excluding base and Tornado series vehicles, to be contracted between the 7th and 15th of October 2017 and registered between the 7th of October 2017 and 30th of June 2018. Offer available to retail and eligible fleet customers only at participating Ford dealers. Not available with any other promotions.
Ooh, glad I brought a coat. Thinking ahead, Wilbur? Well, it's like getting home care from British Gas before winter catches you out. From only £12 a month, that's less than 40p a day. Your boiler's serviced every year. If it still breaks down, we'll fix it. And until 23rd of October, you get 1 month free on most home care products when you buy online. You brought the umbrella. Thinking ahead. Not bad for a penguin. Stay a step ahead of winter. Search British Gas Home Care. Conditions apply.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
In today's Sunday Times magazine, there is a photograph on the front of Hillary Clinton, and she's in London. She's been interviewed at some length by Christina Lamb of the Sunday Times, and she's here because she's got a book. She's launching a book. It's called What Happened, and it's why she didn't become the President of the United States of America, and none of it's her fault. Absolutely. In fact, she's never, ever got anything wrong in her entire life. It's because of horrible, awful, vile people. People who were behind Brexit that then dared to get themselves involved in the American elections. She speaks of Farage with disgust. He came to the US to campaign for Trump and spent half of his remarks insulting me in a very personal way and talking about Trump as an alpha male, the silverback gorilla. I think of those images and what that says about what is acceptable and what's not. So I'm not acceptable. I'm looking forward, actually, to reading a bit more of the book. The book is available. It's on sale for £20, published by Simon & Schuster. It's called What Happened, but perhaps should be renamed The Great Big Whinge. So there. Now, earlier on, we were talking to Theo Ashwood, who was amidst hundreds of people in the square in Barcelona. We were doing well for a little bit, then the line went, and I am hoping that Theo, LBC's political editor, is on the phone right now.
I'm back, Nigel. The demonstration is still going on. Tens of thousands of campaigners, demonstrators affiliated in some form with the Spanish People's Party, that's Manuel Rajoy's party in Madrid, here in Spain to try and keep Catalonia part of Spain. Now, we saw the ugly scenes last week when the referendum took place. It was deemed illegitimate, it was deemed illegal. Riot police, heavily clad in black armour, burst in, dragging women by the hair, beating elderly people up to try and stop that taking place. Today in central Barcelona, a very different atmosphere. The police are standing with their arms folded, eating donuts, smoking cigarettes, very, very relaxed, because of course they don't. This is their demonstration. This is Madrid's demonstration to try and persuade Catalonia to remain part of Spain. And I've been speaking to a few people in the crowd about why they're here and why they want unity rather than to allow, as they term it, the separatists to win.
We're all very afraid of what the Catalan government is doing. Basically, they are bringing us to the ruin. They're ruining this country, you know?
Why now?
Companies are leaving the region. Everybody's very, very afraid. You know, this can be a disaster for Catalonia, economically and socially. You know, half of the country is against the other half. It's a disaster.
It feels a little bit like civil war.
Not without the war, but at least their families are fighting, friends are fighting. It's a total disaster, both socially and economically.
But why are they doing it?
Some of them are fanatics, and some of them want to do it out of their own economic interests, you know? This is a very corrupt government.
Madam, why is it important Spain stays together?
It's important because we are together, we are going to be better, and we are going to be like the last 40 years. We are trying to fight for the democracy, and we are trying to stop separatism. We want to be together, and we are going to stay better together.
Do you think there'll be violence this week? Do you think the separatists will get their way? Will the separatists win?
I don't think so. We are more, and we are all together. We are now here today to stop separatism, and I think we are going to win them. And we all of us have one heart, and we are Catalan and Spanish also. So I think we are going to win. We are more.
There's a lot of pro-EU flags here. There's a lot of EU, European Union flags here.
Yes. We want to be European again. We are not going to permit this situation, and we want to be Spanish, and we are going to be Catalan, and we want to be from Europe. That we are going to be fighting for the last 40 years. So
why are you here?
Okay, because I'm a little bit disappointed with the Catalan separatist politicians, because they are lying to us so many times and from long time, from 30 years already, almost, because they have, the education, they teach the children as changing the history, changing a lot of things, saying to the citizens that the rest of the state of Spain is stealing them because they afford more taxes than they receive in investments. But this is not such a huge hole. It's not so much there. I mean, they're doing so many crazy statements that are not true. And then the people, a lot of people believe them, and then they want to separate. They say, no, we don't want to belong to...
The Catalonia gets less taxes than they create.
The Catalan community is region, sorry. It has a lot of industry, a lot of tourism, a lot of businesses, and then it's rich. It's rich in the sense of creating value. And then they pay the taxes as the rest of the Spanish people. And then they get back from the state amounts on investments and so other kind of... And it's true, the richest parts are the ones that afford more than the poorest, no? They receive the poorest. But it's redistribution of the richness. So it's not. I think it's not a problem. I think.
No. Do you think that today Spain is trying to say to Catalonia, we love you, we want you to stay?
Yeah, of course. All these people is here because they want to continue to being together.
Remarkable. Theo, are you still there?
Still here?
Yeah, remarkable how some of those arguments, they were echoes of what we heard used in our referendum in this country about Britain and the European Union. Just there's a lot more passion there and people out on the streets in their numbers. Is there any indication, Theo, as to what is going to happen in the Catalan Parliament on Tuesday afternoon?
The Catalan Parliament was due to meet on Monday, and
yeah.
You're quite right to pick up on that.
Yeah.
That session has now been suspended by the government in Madrid. Carles Puigdemont, the president of Catalonia, is then due to address the Parliament here in Barcelona on Tuesday, and it's a little bit unclear as to how far he's going to go. He's under pressure from his own side, Nigel, to use the referendum result, the overwhelming referendum result, to leave the rest of Spain as the moment to declare independence. Today's demonstration and what we saw yesterday both here in Barcelona and in Madrid was actually pressure being put on him from the other side to try and row back, to try and find a way of starting a dialogue. But this is a region, Nigel, this goes back to 1975 and the fall of General Franco. This is a region that has had its language suppressed, its culture suppressed, and then over the years it's been able to get that back. And what's happened is and the woman hit on it there, is that this is the richest part of Spain because of tourism, because of industry. It generates a huge amount of taxes which goes into the coffers of Madrid, and then what they get back in terms of bursaries, grants, direct funding from Madrid is a lot less than that, and that's created a resentment.
Same arguments.
Government here. Same arguments.
Same arguments as we had in the referendum.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's created the resentment, Nigel, that they want to say, well, hang on a moment, we could be better off out on our own, with our own economy, with our own culture, and we don't need Madrid.
Theo, thanks ever so much, and keep us in touch in the next couple of days. There is the possibility of some very dramatic events. We did actually get a slight softening from the Spanish government yesterday, where they virtually apologised for some of the things that had happened last Sunday. So there has been in the last 24 hours a slight de-escalation of the language, but this will be a very dramatic speech by the Catalan president that takes place on Tuesday. Dave is calling me from Coulsdon in Surrey. Dave, what do you make of the pro-Spain march today?
Hello, Nigel. Well, it's very important, and it's very important for us. And I want to bring something out that you've highlighted, but you haven't totally exposed.
Okay.
And that is, what are the powers of the police when they are under assault from the public? I mean, in England, we've seen many times people in balaclavas marching, smashing things up. And the media are able to show a policeman with a baton who has been under attack. Now, that policeman could be your son or your father, your uncle, and they are being goaded by a mob with things chucked at them.
Yes.
And all of the political debate is able to change on one photograph. We've seen it so often, the worst type of media manipulation. Do we want the rule of law or not? And what should be done about it? What's done to protect our policemen in this country and in Spain?
Dave, I do understand what you say, that one photograph can change our perception of an entire event. And you're absolutely right to point that out. However, there wasn't much goading going on when there were people in their late 70s queuing up to vote last Sunday and were forcibly knocked to the ground and dragged away. I mean, like you, I'm always sceptical about any story and how it's portrayed. I have to say, I believe the accounts that I've listened to and that I've read of innocent people going to vote being subjected to violence.
Nigel, I'm not disputing one thing you did say, which was the 1916 Easter Rising was a brilliant analogy, the way that there is and alter the whole debate.
Yeah.
But we've got to have a more grown-up conversation about this Catalonia situation. This Catalonia situation is almost an insurgency by a minority, and we've got to think about what that means. The media seem to be granting them victim status before we've started in every area, even beyond the propaganda debate. They are a minority. People in Catalonia as a majority do not want to leave. What does this mean for the SNP? Are they next?
Well, Dave, everything you say there is absolutely right, or it was right until last Sunday. I just think, and that's the reason I use the Irish analogy, I just think that the way they behave will drive more people in that direction. Dave, thank you for your call. You're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's 11:46.
Coming up at 12 on LBC, Majid Nawaz.
A car ploughed into pedestrians at London's Natural History Museum yesterday. The usual suspects declared it a terror attack, except it was quite literally a car crash. Have we given in to fear?
Majid Nawaz on LBC.
I'm Nick Ferrari, and thank you for all your support with this year's Global's Make Some Noise Day, LBC's charity for those who don't get heard. We raised an amazing amount of money. However, we've got more still to come, including a series of live events at the Hippodrome in London's Leicester Square. They include me, Nick Ferrari, being interviewed by the former Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg, and an evening with one of the world's most talked about politicians, yes, Nigel Farage. To buy your tickets and help raise even more money, go to lbc.co.uk.
Oh, Churchy, look at that snazzy new car, like me in the glory days, before I got written off. My blinkers had that keen sparkle, and my pipes, well, don't get me started on my pipe.
Oh, no.
If your car is written off, you can choose between a replacement, paying for an upgrade, or the money.
Time to pass on the baton. Oh.
Churchill, depend on the dog.
Comprehensive cover only. Excludes theft claims. Exact match subject to availability. Minimum car value £3,500 or cash replacement. Upgrade available when difference is paid. Underwritten by UK Insurance Limited.
Oak Furnitureland's Super Sale must end Sunday. There's quality 100% solid hardwood furniture to suit every room and every home. We've a choice of hardwoods including natural, rustic and mango, with modern and traditional styles, plus beautifully finished painted collections to choose from. And don't miss our exclusive selection of sofa designs. So whether it's the whole room or a statement piece you're looking for, visit us in-store or online at oakfurnitureland.co.uk. Our Super Sale must end Sunday. Order now for guaranteed Christmas delivery.
So, you're all ready to go?
Great.
Can you let me out, please?
Did you just hear that?
Oh, don't worry, that's just Steve giving your Duke's bootlock one final check. Mr. Thorough, bless him.
Hello? Because we know every nut and cranny on a Nissan, you get even greater peace of mind. So visit Nissan's used car event from the 6th to the 23rd of October, where you could drive away a used 65-plate Duke from £11,946, subject to availability at participating dealers. Google Nissan Cared For to find your nearest dealer.
At EDF Energy, we train smart, we arrive smart, we work smart, we leave smart. We are the Smart Installation Society, and we're recruiting now for more great people to be part of our smart meter installer team.
We are the Smart Installation Society. We are the Smart Installation Society.
Join us today. Search EDF Energy Smart Careers. Smart metering from EDF Energy. Works for me.
Air France.
La France
is in the air.
Fancy flying somewhere with a little more flair? Et voilà! Our Oh La La deals from London Heathrow let you fly to big destinations for little prices. Shanghai, Lima, and many more. Allez, allez! This offer ends on Tuesday the 10th of October. Book now at airfrance.co.uk and say au revoir.
Air France.
La France
is in the air.
The Russians, Farage, herself. Who really stopped Hillary Clinton? The Sunday Times asks the would-be president how she lost. She reveals her thoughts on Trump's handling of North Korea, why she hates Nigel Farage, and why she thinks being a woman cost her the election. Exclusively in the Sunday Times this weekend.
It's Super Weekend at Lidl with up to 50% off selected products. Get a bottle of Australian Shiraz Rosé, only $2.99. A block of deluxe West Country cheddar, just $1.14. And a pack of Simply Sumptuous Muesli, only 99p. Lidl, big on quality, little on price. Subject to availability and I may vary, selected stores while stocks last.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC, The Nigel Farage Show.
Well, both sides of this debate about Catalonia are being put clearly on LBC, and in fact I think we've got Theo Usherwood there on the ground, and he'll be there over the course of the next couple of days. You know, you'll hear it here first on LBC. Now, my next caller is ringing from South Korea, from Seoul, and it's Zabi. Good. What time of the day is it there?
Hello there. It's evening. It's 10 to 8 in the evening, so almost night here.
Well, good evening, and you were put through it. I'm told that you are Catalan, but now living in South Korea. Yeah. So tell me.
Yeah, I'm from Barcelona. I'm currently living there, and I've been listening to some of the calls that you've been having for the last half an hour or so.
Yep.
And I'd like to point out some things that I don't see I don't understand that, because they keep on saying that Catalan people that want to leave Spain are a minority, and they are not a minority. If you look at the parliament, they are the majority, in fact. So that's the first thing that I don't understand. Then the other thing, I heard somebody saying that companies are leaving Catalonia, and maybe you have read that some of the banks are like changing their address or something like that. Well, that's only a change of address. It's not nothing to be worried about. They are not leaving the country. They are not leaving Barcelona. I mean, we still have the banks, we still have the workers. So there's nothing there. It's just. I think you understand that it's just kind of a fear. You know, it's putting fear into people. So because at the end, what they don't want to talk about is letting people decide what they want to do. I mean, at the end, it's just that problem, and Spain is having that problem. Not listening to people and just saying lies and bullshit at the end. So
well, let me just pick up on 2 points. Firstly, you know, the last polling that I saw said that in a referendum, about 41% would vote for separation, which is up from 15% 20 years ago. So the last polling we saw suggested that it was a minority, but that may have changed after last Sunday. Your point about the banks and businesses is fascinating. So before last Sunday, this was never an argument that was heard. Now, the prospect that Catalonia may secede has led to the banks saying they would leave, and it's actually almost a rerun of the arguments that we had in the British referendum. But Zabi, let me ask you, if you were back in Barcelona, or if there was a defining referendum, would you yourself vote for Catalan independence?
I would. Nowadays I would. Yes, of course. Yes. Because, and I think you meet a lot of people that they would vote against that independence like 15 days ago, but now they are... That's
exactly what I think. And how would you... Just let me ask you this one last question if I can. So, Catalonia, if it was to secede in that referendum, would you think it's important for Catalonia to join the European Union, or wouldn't that worry you? Would independence be what you'd be going for?
No, I wouldn't be worried at all. I mean, there are some tweets that we could, add to that tweet. I mean, we could get into those tweets for commerce and for these kind of things. But the European Union is just a club for partners. I mean, there's the partners club with countries doing whatever they want, and they don't care about anything else. So if you are in, you're good, and if you're out, you're the same, but out. I mean, you can live outside the European Union, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Zabi. Interesting. So I'm hearing Eurosceptic arguments being made by Spaniards, things that I'm told I was an awful person for suggesting that countries could survive outside. There we are. John in Glasgow, good morning.
Good morning. The actions of the Catalan government have definitely inflamed and aggravated the situation. It's been provocative, but the Spanish government themselves have deepened the crisis with their ham-fisted, heavy-handed approach and undoubtedly alienated a lot of people and driven a great many more people in short term into the hands of the Catalan nationalists. But the question really here, Nigel, is where all this comes from. It comes mainly from the European Union, their idea of weakening nation-states, this almost regionalisation.
I know.
Tony Blair, it's almost become like the Scottish regional government, the Welsh regional government, and all that's happened with this devolution in the last 20 years is they've provided a platform which people like the Catalan nationalists, like the Scottish nationalists, have taken over as their own platform. And I would remind a lot of people that as recently as 3 or 4 months ago, Nicola Sturgeon was even threatening in the same kind of provocative, inflammatory way to hold a second referendum here in Scotland, regardless of what anybody else in the UK thought.
Yeah, no, absolutely. John, do you know what? We debated this in Strasbourg at some length last week because, as you say, one of the great aims of the European Union has been to regionalise countries, the sort of old-fashioned divide and conquer, take away people's feeling for a nation, replace that with its feeling for, its own region, its own identity, but within a European framework. And funny enough, Tony Benn predicted this in the 1975 referendum. Benn said that what will happen is they will gradually try to break up the United Kingdom through grant money, etc., etc. But John, in the past, I mean, for example, Sinn Féin. You know, the European Commission love Sinn Féin. They're fantastic now because Sinn Féin want to do more damage to the United Kingdom, but be absolutely committed as supporters of the EU. What they're terrified of, John, is this Catalan independence movement is something different. It's actually quite a strong cultural thing, and what they're terrified of, they're terrified that the Catalans stick two fingers up to Madrid and to Brussels, and they see that as the beginning of the end of the entire European project. So that's my take on it, John. Would you agree with that?
Well, I do agree with many parts of that, but it's inflammatory, and the European Union, they've tried to have it both ways here.
Yes.
I mean, in the wake of our referendum result last year to leave the European Union, they rolled out the red carpet for Nicola Sturgeon for their own purposes. She's not their negotiating partner, and she has similar agendas to people like the Catalan government. We've had seen the police up here unified. It started off as a Scottish executive when the revolution started. They anointed themselves then as a Scottish government. Yeah. And so it moves on. They now want to do away with British transport police, but they're now reaping
but can you imagine, John?
The backdraft from all of this.
Can you imagine, John? I mean, those louts that supported Scottish separation, that assaulted me in the street in Glasgow. Can you imagine if the British police went and roughed them up? I mean, the first people to condemn it all would have been the European Union. And in this case, not a dicky bird. John, I thank you very much indeed for your call. I've no idea what will happen on Tuesday. I've no idea whether the Catalan president will go through with this full push for independence or not. What I am certain of is the behaviour of the Spanish police and its support from Brussels and the European Commission actually has done the separatist cause one whole lot of good. You've been listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show on LBC. I'm back tomorrow evening from 7. Coming up at 3, it's Alex Salmond. But up next, it's Majid Nawaz.
Thank you, Nigel. Coming up, the government's former transplant chief says he will opt out of donating his organs if the rules are changed in England. Do you support a change in the rules for organ donation so that we have to opt out instead of currently opting in? Before that, graduates from ethnic minorities in Britain are less likely to be in work than their white peers. How much progress have we really made in the fight against racism? But first, 11 people were injured yesterday when a car ploughed into pedestrians at London's Natural History Museum. Our media began rolling coverage. Tube stations were closed. The usual suspects, and you know who you are, declared it a terror attack, except it was quite literally a car crash. Have we given in to fear?
FM, online, on your mobile and on digital radio. Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at midday, Theresa May is promising not to hide from a challenge with speculation of a cabinet reshuffle later in the month that could see Boris Johnson demoted. Labour claims the Prime Minister doesn't have enough authority and can't lead her party, but Culture Secretary Karen Bradley is backing Mrs May and says the Conservatives must remain focused.
The important point is that we get on with the job. The Prime Minister set out policies in her conference speech that we need to deliver on. We need to get that right deal with Brexit, but we need to make sure we deliver on those policies, that when we identify the injustices, when we identify things going wrong, we act on them.
Scotland's Brexit Minister insists independence will still be up for discussion at the SNP party conference, which is taking place in Glasgow. Mike Russell says Scots need to be given a choice as the UK prepares to leave the EU.
There is no doubt whatsoever that Scotland has to remain within the single market and the customs union. Whether it's a soft or a hard Brexit, people have to be given the right to say whether they want that or they want something else, and that something else is independence.
Thousands of people have joined a rally in central Barcelona to protest against the Catalan government's attempts to break away from Spain. It comes a week after a banned referendum marred by violence as national police tried to stop the vote taking place. These people have told LBC why they've joined the demonstration.
We're all very afraid of what the Catalan government is doing. Basically, they are taking us, bringing us to the ruin. They're ruining this country, you know?
We are trying to fight for the democracy, and we are trying to stop separatists. We want to be together, and we are going to stay better together.
A man arrested after a minicab crash caused fears of a terror alert near the Natural History Museum has been released by police under investigation. The 47-year-old driver was one of 11 people hurt when a car hit pedestrians yesterday. He was detained on suspicion of dangerous driving. Scotland Yard says it wasn't terror-related. Nate has been downgraded from a Category 1 hurricane to a tropical storm. It's brought strong winds, torrential rain and some flooding to the US Gulf Coast. People filling in the next census form in 2021 may not have to say whether they're male or female. It's reported the sex question could be made voluntary after claims it discriminates against transgender people. The tentative recommendation has been made in a report for the Office for National Statistics. LBC weather largely dry with sunny spells for many and light winds, but showers for northern and western parts, highs of 17 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Andy Ivy.
Modern life is hectic. Queuing for the bathroom, packing the kids' lunchboxes, doing the school run, walking the dog, sprinting after the bus, making that deadline, cheeky catch up with the girlies, then racing to pick up the kids so we're home for tea time. Oh, nothing in the fridge.
Don't come home to an empty fridge. New Tesco same-day delivery. Order by 1 for delivery after 7. Tesco. Every little helps. Subject to availability, excludes Sunday delivery charges apply.
LBC Travel in Hertfordshire, the M25 anti-clockwise has reopened at junction 22 for St Albans after a car overturned earlier on. Queues remain though from junction 23 for the A1M at South Mims. Also on the M25 anti-clockwise, a lane's closed between junction 25 for the A10 at Enfield and junction 24 for Potters Bar. That's because a lorry is having a tyre changed. The Royal Parks Half Marathon continues, so there are road closures in central London, including Whitehall and the Strand. And on the Tube, engineering works means there's no district line west of South Kensington, so affecting the Wimbledon, Richmond and Edgware Road branches. LBC Travel. I'm Dave Goff.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Majid Nouaz.